Welcome to the Infinite Life with Katische Haberfield. I'm a quantum soul therapist, and I'd like to take you on a transformative journey exploring the mysteries of the soul, past lives, and infinite existence. Through over 60 regression case studies, mediumship interviews, and fascinating discussions with interesting human beings, uncover what it means to be a human facing duality on Earth whilst embracing the true nature of reality, non-duality, and unconditional love. Katie Carey, an international best-selling author, is the CEO of Katie Carey Media Limited and the founder of Soulful Valley Publishing House. She's also the host of the Soulful Valley podcast, a globally ranked podcast in the top 1%. Through her podcast and multi-author books, Katie provides a platform for spiritual entrepreneurs, visionary artists, coaches, energy healers, authors, and conscious creators to elevate their visibility. Previously, Katie founded Stages, an alternative mental health charity, and strongly advocates for mental health, disability, and emotional well-being. Having experienced mobility issues that led her to early retirement at the age of 48, Katie is particularly passionate about supporting individuals in these areas, drawing from her journey. With a love for blending science and spirituality, Katie collaborates with like-minded individuals in her multi-author books. Many authors have shared stories of synchronicities that led to their collaboration with Katie. She aims to bring these concepts and ideas to broader audiences, supporting mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical well-being. Katie Carey's next book that she is launching under the Soulful Valley Publishing House banner is Becoming the Manifesting Diva, Creating Ripples While You Flow, is launching on Amazon on the 17th of September 2024 with an exciting, inspiring foreword by Dr. Joe Vitale. So watch out for that one, and Katie has both a support group for the launch of that on Facebook and also on Telegram, and you can connect with Katie after the podcast to find out further details about supporting the authors who are in this upcoming book. Welcome back to the Infinite Life podcast. I'm your host, Katische Haberfield, and today we have with us our great friend of the past. Oh, start again. He's going to be more from you too. I think the universe is just trying to get more photos of you and I laughing in podcast stills.
Probably.
All right, start again. All right. Welcome to the Infinite Life podcast. You're here with me, Katische Haberfield, and this week we have great friend of the podcast and personal friend of mine, Katie Carey. Katie, welcome to the podcast. Again.
Hi. Yeah, again, but this time it's a bit different, isn't it?
It is a bit different. You're conscious and awake.
It's very different. It's actually quite scary being on the other side of being interviewed as well.
Right. Yes, and this time you are Katie Carey, being Katie Carey, not Katie Carey being anybody else.
In a past life.
Have been in other lifetimes. Yeah. So now we get to talk to you rather than all the other personas you have been. So this is an interesting change, isn't it?
And it's interesting for me as well, because normally I'm the person interviewing on my podcast to put everybody else's story out there, but I don't tend to take the stand myself very often.
No. And I did a podcast interview this morning for the podcast that will come after yours, and she was the same. She never does interviews, so she was also the same. And I'm like, it's all right, whatever comes out will come out. It's meant to be for you, me, or for the listeners. We don't know. There's a message in there for all of us at some level. So yes, so Katie has been on multiple episodes of the podcast, and she was in multiple different kinds of seasons as well. There's different aspects that we have looked at for the journey of Katie in multiple lifetimes. But this time I wanted to say, Katie, look, we're doing the midlife season, which is basically focused on the here and now in this lifetime, and looking at how in this life we have, I guess, come to where we are today. So if you want to call it a spiritual awakening, if you want to call it a midlife crisis, I don't know how you view the lens of what has happened to you since your 40s, 50s, 60s, that sort of category of where people do go, what's going on with my life? What am I doing? Do I feel everything's going the way I feel like it should go? And how do I want to change the direction or modify it? And I guess it's just really looking at, we know where you are today. Today you're a number one, as in top 1% podcaster globally. I don't even have words for that. And I think the last time I looked at you on Apple Podcasts, what was your ranking, like 14?
I've just had number 14 in the Great Britain charts. The highest we've been in the Great Britain charts is number 9. So
number 9. Wow.
I'm quite happy to be hanging out there in the top.
Yeah, wow, congratulations. So there's a journey to get from where you were to being in that top 1%. Talk us through your story.
I wouldn't say it was a midlife crisis as such. I would say that my spiritual awakening began in 2010, actually, when I first stepped into a meditation class. And then things started to unfold for me. And I feel right now where I am, I've come full circle since that first spiritual awakening, because there's been people come back up who were around in 2013 around me that are quite pivotal in what I'm doing and where I'm going now. So one of those people is Dr. Joe Vitale. So I trained in his Law of Attraction practitioner course all the way back in 2013. But my life was a bit of a personal shambles with the relationship that I was in at the time. So I was running a charity to help people with mental health. I was looking after lots of people around me, but somewhere along the way, I forgot about me. So everything was about the rest of the world, the rest of the community, my family, but not really about me. And it was 2020 with all of the COVID drama and the quieting down of the world and everything outside of me, where I started to manifest in people and experiences and the opportunity to launch a podcast. And that's where things really started to change dramatically.
Okay. And can I ask you, just stop and take it back a second, what led you to that meditation class?
It was actually a new workplace. So I was in a new workplace for the first week, and there was a lady in the team, the wider team, who invited me and said, we have a Thursday meditation. Would you like to come along? And I had a lot of stress in my life up to that point. So I thought, why not? And I loved it. The moment I stepped into there, it became something that I did all of the time. So I went every Thursday without fail. And eventually a lady popped up who became a really close friend and confidant 3 years into that. She was a Buddhist monk and she's still my friend now. So the reason for that, I believe, is my connection to her.
And it's interesting because if you ask me the opposite question, so how was your first meditation experience? I'll tell you, I fell asleep on the floor and didn't do it again for another 10 years. So it's just interesting how we can be ready for some things and not for others. I remember being in a yoga class when I worked for Accenture, and they said, we're just going to lie down in Shavasana, the corpse pose, and we'll just do a little meditation. And I fell asleep, and she came up and she said, the class is finished and everyone's been gone for 10 minutes, but I have to wake you up.
The interesting thing about this meditation class is that there was building work being done right next to the room we were in. Okay. So I learned to meditate with chaos around me, which was quite relevant to what was actually going on in my life at the time.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it was a very different experience to what it could have been had that not been going on.
Yeah. And so during those pre-COVID years, did meditation become a strength for you, meaning that it was the thing that helped you kept the inner stillness amongst the chaos of your life, or did you find other tools and techniques?
It was the main thing at the time for quite a while, and then I came across Abraham Hicks and the law of attraction and manifesting, and started to practice little games and things that Esther Hicks had created, like a focus wheel. And I can tell you that everything that was ever on that focus wheel has practically happened since. But I also became a mindfulness teacher in 2015. So it became
Okay.
more than just sitting in meditation. It became more of mindful practice throughout day-to-day life. And I came to a stage, I believe, where that was so important to me. That's why I ended up walking away from that relationship, because I just wasn't available for all of that chaos anymore.
Become aware of not only your own thoughts, but the energy around yourself and other people.
And what I was attracting. I discovered Ho'oponopono. and there's something really deep when you take responsibility there, that everything that's reflected around you is coming from you. So there were lots of things that I just knew we weren't a right match anymore.
And when you talk about Ho'oponopono, how did you use that? Because there's lots of many different ways that people use other people's tools. And what was the powerful way that you used that tool?
I used it in meditation, but I also used it when I was in a room with this particular person that I'm thinking about now. When things were difficult, I would use it in my head.
Okay.
Rather than react to anything.
Okay.
I would use it to keep myself calm and centered.
Okay.
Along with mindfulness practices.
Yeah. Okay.
Eventually.
Good. So
eventually.
yeah. Things don't happen immediately, do they? It's like
that was a long process. And I remember, even though I was a mindfulness teacher, it was often said to me, if I did get angry about something, it was often said to me, you're supposed to be a mindfulness teacher. But clearly there are things in life that know how to push your buttons, even when you are a mindfulness teacher.
And the thing is that you've got to be aware of the anger rising or whatever, right? And you can't just have only positive emotions, because you're just suppressing.
Exactly. And it's funny because I've been listening to you over the last week on some of your little clips. And one came up about snoring.
Yes.
So a conversation came up between me and my partner. And one of the things that came up was that in my sleep, I'm quite angry.
Oh,
That's
really?
an interesting one. So he's heard me lashing out and swearing and being angry. And I was like, wow, my spirit team are obviously processing all those emotions I didn't let out years ago. I thought that was quite interesting.
Very interesting, because every time I talk to you, you're laughing. So
yeah, and I'm quite a happy person. We haven't had a crossword in 2.5 years. And it's not that I'm trying to hold anything back, because we're quite open and honest with each other. But clearly there's been stuff for a lot of decades that I had pushed down that my body still needs to process. And it's nice to know, actually, that something's going on in my sleep.
Yeah, that's right, because that's when we process everything at the subconscious levels. And do you remember angry dreams? Or
no, I don't. Have no idea, but I do. It does remind me that my mum used to be like that. But my mum my mum had a lot of trauma in her marriage, so now I understand why.
Interesting. And for those people who are listening, those clips that Katie's referring to are actually going to be all released one day at a time over 1 week. in a couple of weeks' time. I've posted them on Facebook and YouTube, but they're going to be on the podcast as just little mini clips, so you can find out what that's all about in a couple of weeks' time. And Katie, what's next in the story?
We got to the COVID years and I came across somebody who offered a 5-day podcast challenge, which I jumped into. And at the time, I was very on my own at that point. I was very isolated because I was cut off from everybody. So I noticed when I was doing the challenge that I had lots of ideas for podcast titles. I'd already had the name Soulful Valley drop in 2 years before, but I didn't know what for. And I'd even created that little intro video that I use now. Didn't know why. And I had all of the right equipment that she was talking about to create a podcast. So I felt I'm supposed to do this. And in the past, which I have to mention, this is why I loved the idea so much. I was an actress and I worked in TV and radio, and I loved radio. So the idea of a podcast was just quite magical for me. And then I came across Joanna Hunter in an angel workshop, a 444 workshop, ended up in her world on her business course. That's where we met, in the Deep app. And I'd say I was quite overwhelmed when I got in there. It's like I'd gone in there thinking, how do I get my mindfulness courses online? Because at the time I was teaching, I just closed my charity. So how do I get all of this online? Because, well, I was trying to, and there were crickets. So nobody cared, basically, it felt like.
Okay, yeah.
So I got into Deep app, and when I saw all of the different pieces, it was a bit overwhelming. And I said to her, what should I focus on? One of her energy, I think it was just a free energy class that she did. And she said, and she doesn't normally tell you to focus on one thing either, but it came through spirit for me to focus on the podcast. So at the time, it's okay, yeah, I love the sound of the podcast, sounds amazing, but how on earth is that going to bring money in to the business? And then things evolved.
And that's a really big leap of faith and trust in your own intuition, as well as her recommendation to start a podcast when you were looking at mindfulness courses. And just to explain to the listeners, the Soulful Valley podcast predominantly interviews other people, right? So it didn't end up being about your mindfulness tips and techniques. Like, you didn't do 122 interviews with yourself about mindfulness. You just went straight in and started interviewing other.
What I recognized was that over those few months leading up to when I actually launched the podcast, there were so many other people with all these wonderful things that they were sharing to help people with. And I thought, I'm not how can I do all of this on my own? Because at the time I was in a bit of a save the world mentality.
Right. Okay.
So I wanted to share everybody I'd come across and what they were doing, because I was quite excited to see all of that, because I lived in a world where there was what happens in mainstream for people with mental health and emotional problems, which wasn't very much. So suddenly I could see all of this magic happening all around the world online, and I wanted to share it. And my direction completely changed.
And for you, how do you think that it changed you, or made you stronger, or what was the process? Because
I think
podcast is a personal development exercise in itself. Do you know what I mean? It's confidence, it's visibility, it's trust in yourself.
Yeah. And it's not as if I hadn't been, because I had been doing personal development things for a few years anyway. So I'd already been on I'd been on a course with Jay Shetty in his Genius course. I'd done some Bob Proctor courses. So I'd been hanging about in personal development, landed in Denise Duffield Thomas's Money Bootcamp, and then I came across Joanna. So there was a series of people that I'd already done a bit of personal development with anyway. And I'd got really good at recognizing synchronicities and following my intuition, as opposed to overthinking about the next step.
Mm.
And then when things came up that I just felt I was called to, I jumped, which was
How,
quite scary.
how, just to drill down on that, because the majority of the world overthinks, right? And takes a
Mm.
very long time to jump into a course or to follow a teacher, but you do instantaneous shifts and trust and look for synchronicities and things like that. Is it possible to distill how, on reflection, you went from overthinking to, do you think it's because you did the mindfulness and meditation that
Yeah,
you're able to do
I
that?
do think that mindfulness has played a big part in it. I think even when my body started to deteriorate, I was already a mindfulness teacher. So I took that in a different way. I was able to cope with that in a different way than I'd seen other people cope with that. So I do think mindfulness has played a big part in it. And the fact maybe that I had a Buddhist monk friend to talk to.
Yeah,
who,
yeah, that
who
helps.
I've kept really on a level with. And she used to be in the mediumship world. She trained in the Arthur Findlay College prior to that. So
Okay.
she's quite a good person that I confided in as well.
Yeah, okay. And so once you started to experience and meet all these wonderful people with all the wonderful ideas that you shared for them to help them with their visibility, which is one of the things you talk about in the podcast, is to help people in the spiritual world who have businesses share their ideas and connect with people who can pick up some ideas and tools to help them with their own lives.
Mm.
How has that changed your perspective on yourself and what you're here to do and how you can help people?
It made me realize that there was a bigger picture. So I could do more than just heal a few people with the courses that I might do, but there's a bigger stage that I could put myself on out there as well. So this is where the books came in. And I've loved books since I was a toddler. So when an opportunity came up to write in that first multi-author book that I wrote in, and it called Intuitive, as I was feeling that intuition, that book was like, I could have had that title come through me. It felt such a yes for me. And then things evolved even further. So I loved that so much. I immediately offered to do a podcast series for that book launch, for that publisher, for the people involved, because I loved their stories. So I read all their chapters before anybody else did. And I loved the experience of that. And then it just came to me that this is what I should be doing. I should be creating the books. And it's just gone from, over the last 4 years, that's what we've been doing.
And so for you, it was a feeling of joy internally because you enjoyed the experience of reading the chapters and then meeting the people, but then I'm not even sure how to express it, but you got as much as they got the exposure. They got the exposure and it was about them, but you also received because you were getting the joy out of the process. I think that's
absolutely. Yeah. And I've loved it. And I think I read something the other day where somebody said, oh yeah, it was a solo author whose book I did, and she's just written me a review, and she said she couldn't believe how I was excited about her book as much as, if not more than her.
Yes. Yeah.
So she felt that I really cared, and I did. I love books, especially books like this, because they're designed to help people. So they're designed to help the authors writing in them to put themselves out there more and be taken more seriously, and they're designed to help the readers. So it's like a win for everybody.
So it seems like that as you've been evolving along with all the different opportunities and people that you have been following, learning from, meeting and helping promote, would you say that joy is the guiding compass for you? If you pick an emotion, because you said at nighttime you're processing anger, but during the day you're being and experiencing and following the intuitive call for joy. Would you say that
I think
that's
that's it, but it's also reminding me of when I was a teenager, when I was doing magical things that I loved. It's the same sort of feeling. And it's not even, it's just like it was back then. So it's not even about the financial reward. It's the sheer love of doing this. It feels very similar to then. And obviously I'm very creative, and it's giving me the ability to express that creation as well.
One of the things that I've been reflecting a lot on at the moment is that humanity and being a human sometimes feels just like it can feel for many people about a constant struggle, and people can find it hard to find the joy during the growth and the struggle that comes along with the growth, and can almost give up because they say, I'm not getting any joy out of this, so therefore I'll try something else. And it can start this pattern of I have to, I should, it becomes a burden rather than them finding the joy in the moment. So just observing, that's a really, yes, a blessing that you've discovered.
And I think, again, this does come down to mindfulness, because I find the joy in being out in the garden and connecting to the sky and the trees and the birds. So the little things in life as well, I'm always feeling in awe about. There's just little things that will pop up in nature, and I really feel that. So I think that's all part of it.
Yeah, and it's following that energy, and then it magnifies, doesn't it? If you're seeing one small thing that is joyous to you, then your mind and your eye and your body is going to lead you to find that next
your
piece
reticular
of joy.
activating system as well, if you look at it scientifically, is bringing that in, isn't it?
Yeah.
The more you see it, the more it brings. Whereas we know a lot of people need to see to believe in general, but when you are seeing even these tiniest things, and you're grateful, you appreciate it, you notice it, you notice more, you notice bigger things.
Absolutely. And you began to write poetry.
I did. And then I launched a poetry book within 5 weeks of deciding to do it, which was a bit bizarre.
And it's, I think also in your podcasting journey, when you started putting your own poems in there, that's when it went into the stratosphere, didn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Because I did a little series where I just popped in a few of the poems.
And
the poems are quite, they're on the same sort of thing, they're on the same theme as the podcast, aren't they? It's all connected, isn't it?
I think I saw you post on Facebook the other day that somebody's sharing your poems in India.
Oh, that was when I first put out the poem called Love on my Facebook. It was Pakistan. It was someone in Pakistan was sharing my poetry with all of his students, and it was like pictures of lots of Pakistani male students with my poetry, Love, at the heart of their teachings, their lessons. Wow.
Yeah, it's certainly not something that you can even visualize.
That was before
that was before you did the book.
That was just me sharing on social media. And other people had said to me, oh, no, you shouldn't share them on social media. Someone will steal them. And I said, they'll have a job to prove that they're theirs when I put them straight out there. And I didn't care.
Yeah. Yes, that's mind-blowing, isn't it? To think that you get that a podcast can be listened in Pakistan or anywhere around the world, but you never think that somebody would see your poem and then incorporate it. It's just a lovely, unexpected twist to the story.
And give me it as well. Give me recognition that it was my poem. So he could have just gone off and never told anyone. But he tagged me in it and showed me a picture of him with all of his students. I just thought that was amazing.
Yeah, that's lovely. And so how many books have you done under your banner of Soulful Valley now?
I have. I've written in 7 books, but I've published more than that now. So you won't see them in my list of books because I've got solo authors who've written their books, but they've done it with the Soulful Valley ISBN and logo. So I think there's about 8 now.
Mm-hmm.
8 or 9. I've lost track.
And one of the things that I guess for the people that are listening to this and they're thinking, how dare I write a chapter in a book, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not big enough, or I don't have a big enough following. You've started to develop some resources on your pen site page to help people navigate through that.
You've noticed. I've started to put together some little bits and pieces to help people with publishing themselves. And when we do our book collaborations, we have an editing process anyway, so you're not alone. So we have lots of people got people that come in that are dyslexic, and we've got people who come in who have English as a second language. So we help them edit anyway. It doesn't have to be, your writing doesn't have to be perfect. It's just the story that we want to get across. And some people as well are better at speaking their story than actually sitting and writing it. So they could just speak and record their story and then have someone transcribe it and edit it afterwards and rearrange it.
Yeah, there's a fabulous author, and her name is Lorna Byrne, and she's in Ireland, and she's very dyslexic and can't read or write. And she's published 5 internationally amazing selling books, all via audio, as in her speaking into the computer. So
there's nothing can stop you now.
And what I was also meaning is that you've also put some meditations and
I have. I've created some Akashic records and other energy clearing meditations. Well, they're not really meditations. Some of them were actual classes, group sessions to clear energy and to help people to flow with their creativity. So they've gone across quite well. My last author who did a solo book used it and ended up writing a piece of her chapter from what happened after she'd been through that Akashic Records co-creation experience.
Yeah, so I would keep trying to formulate how to write with my experience, but for me, I'll just say it now, I did one of your offers and it was the Akashic journey, and I actually fell to sleep and don't remember any of it. And I was like, oh, that's so disappointing. Why was that? But so I asked my spirit team, and this is where they're like, this is a difficult one, but we'll let you get to the realization. But they said what Katie gifted you with was the opportunity to heal something that was so traumatic that we didn't want you to do it. You needed to be at a really deep somnambulistic level to process that trauma. We didn't want you to do it in like your normal regression state. You needed to be even deeper. And because you trust Katie, and because obviously we've had many lifetimes together, your voice for me was that safety that allowed me to go and clear that. And then they told me what lifetime it was, and I burst into tears because I knew exactly, because I'd had many attempts at doing that myself and with others, and I kept coming up against a wall, a block, because it was too scary. It was, I guess, my equivalent of some of the stuff that you've experienced in the regressions with me, but just at too frightening a level for me to process. And so, yeah, they explained to me that because we had this current lifetime and previous lifetime relationships, that, yeah, your voice was able to do that for me. So, yeah, but it's hard to put that in a testimonial. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, well, you're bringing tears to my eyes now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
That's
you
all
for
right. Yeah.
sharing that.
It's hard. How do you write that? Because it's hard to explain. That's a multi-level healing that's based on a trust over many lifetimes. And then sometimes you have to do it at the somnambulistic level too, because it is too traumatic to, your mind isn't ready to do it at the conscious level. And once it's cleared at that somnambulistic level, then your conscious mind and your subconscious mind is okay for you to bring it forward. You feel the emotion and you're fine, but it does explain things that you have been afraid of or were wary of or whatever it is, and you couldn't piece the pictures together. And I could finally piece the pictures that I'd had together. So yeah, it's a bit like the first time I ever did a Akashic session with Joanna Hunter, and I got the image of arrows shooting behind me and into the door and not letting me go in. And it took me quite a long time to get into my very first past life, which I was able to do with Cindy, who's also another friend from many lifetimes. And so it's very interesting how sometimes the people that we are connected to in this lifetime provide that safety to access some of that stuff that you wouldn't otherwise. You could be with the most famous regression therapist in the world, but you need somebody who's been constant with you on other lifetimes that is a safety for you emotionally to unlock that piece. Yeah. So
and I get that because equally you've been that safety for me, because I know that consciously I was in psychic development from around 2013, and the one thing that I wouldn't do was past life regression until you invited me.
Yeah.
And then finally it was obviously the right time to do it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you can't force it. It's not your safety mechanisms won't let you go there until you're ready. Just it's there for a reason, right? It's there to protect you until you're ready. So yeah, that's very interesting. So maybe I'll do it again, and then I'll revisit a different lifetime or something, and then I'll be able to write something that's a little more.
Keep playing it until you can write.
Yeah, that's right. So
or maybe it's something that you need to record rather than sitting down and writing.
Oh, right, yeah.
Maybe it's something that you can speak your story, your experience.
Yeah. And so books, we've got two, and then you're now this full circle, which means that I know we can't go into the details, but you're venturing back into the world of the screen.
I am, and it was because of you. The ripple effects. So I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you do remember, that we had this little session and it was called The Soul of Your Business. And I came out of that session with you. You'd told me that you saw me doing more than books. You told me you saw me doing more than books. You saw me doing movies, and you said, like The Secret, or
did I even said that, didn't I? Yeah.
You actually said it, or The Shift, you said, which was Wayne Dyer. And it was straight after that session where I saw the advert for people to apply for the movie. And so I did it. That was a big intuitive impulse that I knew after what you just said, that was there for me. And yeah, it's going to be on the screens early next year.
Yeah, wow, fabulous. It's interesting. So, and it's interesting, how does it make you feel going full circle?
I'm quite excited. I'm quite excited about the rest of my life now. I feel like I've got back onto the path that I was always destined to be on.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense to me.
And some of the things in between, obviously having my children was the most joyful thing I've ever done, and now I've got grandchildren. But there was parts in between where I wasn't me anymore. I wasn't being the creative soul that I used to be. And I was supporting, at first it was supporting a husband in the army. So we were always moving around every year. And I didn't give myself time to be me as well as be the mum and the wife. And so all of that had gone missing for me in my 20s and 30s. And then I ended up attracting a husband who was quite similar to my father, and it was like the worst thing to me at that time that I could have attracted. So then I spent years supporting him, and then built the charity around him and helping a community of people similar to him. So it's strange. I feel like I've done a big journey and come back to myself, to being me. Of course, I also changed my name during that journey. So I changed my name back to Katie Carey, who I was known as an actress, and things immediately began to change when I changed my name as well.
Yes, they say that is very powerful in terms of your name changes in lifetime, and how that can how that can affect what you do. I think he's come to say hello to you, Katie. There he is.
Hello.
I didn't even know where he was. Okay, up down now. So do you think that you'll be looking out for other screen-based opportunities? I know that you were talking with another one of our podcast guests, Suzanne, who is developing a TV series.
Oh yes, Suzanne developed a character for me to play.
Yeah, that'll be very cool.
I sort of manifested that too. And I was connected with Suzanne because she was working with an actor that I was in a show with back in my teens when I was 17 at the Edinburgh Festival. So another connection that's come all the way around through my past, really. So yeah, I'm quite excited about that.
And are you looking out for other opportunities for the future within that sort of? Do you think that now you're going to be?
Not specifically. I'm just going to be open to what the universe brings, what unfolds.
Yep. Sorry, the cat is now playing with the knocking the screen on the laptop. Yeah. Just looking for the synchronicities and the signs,
and what happens when this movie comes out.
Yes, of course. Katie, what I will do is I will link all of your sites and the podcast so that people can go there and see exactly the amazing podcast that you have, all of the resources that you have, so that people can, no matter what stage they are in their spiritual journey, there's an episode there or a poem. You've got all these resources in the books, and then you have all the pen site meditations and Akashic journeying, so that you pretty much cover all ends of the spectrum in terms of where somebody may be, that you can help them. And importantly, I guess that was the whole point of having you on, is to show that nobody starts as a 1% podcaster or a person in a movie. They can start and then take a different path and then come back around, and that you understand and you can empathize with wherever they are in life, and you can help them because you've been there, right? And you've been through your own struggles, and you know what tools you've used, what tools other people have used, and how you can help them get past that fear, because you resonate with the joy. And so I guess my summary is, you're here to help them, point them in the direction of their joy, right?
Thank you.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
Yeah. So I will recommend that people go listen to the podcast. Let's get Katie to the top 10 and then up to the number 1 position in the UK, and go listen to some of her episodes. And you can follow Katie. She's everywhere on social media, including YouTube.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Is there any last thing that you want to leave with listeners, viewers?
There is one. It's the theme tune of my podcast. And the message is, you've got to love yourself.
Yep. Can be hard, but it's very true.
Yes.
And for those who do listen to the podcast, you'll hear Katie and she sings the song that she wrote.
I do.
Yep. Well, Katie, thank you so much for your time this morning in the UK, I think, and this evening here in Australia. And thank you for being a part of our podcast, Evolution, and for being episode 111.
Yay! Thank you, Katische.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.